Welcome to Resident Advisors Exchange. My name is Martha, and I'm so happy to welcome Zora Jones to the podcast. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, quite a lot of us are stuck at home, but
Yeah.
you've kind of been building virtual playgrounds long before the rest of us
hmm
looked almost solely to the internet for these kind of immersive club experiences. Um, what kind of drew you to wanting to create those initially, and how would you say that their meanings or significance has transformed over the past year?
Well, Sinjin and I are both super visual people, and we're also really interested in new technologies. I think Fractal Fantasy kind of came from a place where we wanted to combine those both interests with our music. And so I don't think virtual playgrounds or virtual environments kind of changed much for me over the last year because to me, um, it was never a substitute for our real life. It was just a means of expression. So in a way, it is not a substitute for real experience, the real life experiences. I still really, really miss going to the club, although there have been online festivals happening and stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure if it changed that much, to be honest.
Hmm. I wonder if you were perhaps a bit more prepared than some of us for the last year and the kind of shifts that we've had to readdress because you're kind of
Yeah,
already familiar.
a lot of people asked us that actually, but I don't know. I don't know if anyone was prepared for this, to be honest. We're kind of just all trying to adapt and trying to make things happen in this crazy time.
Mm. I'd love to hear a bit more about Virtua. So it was intended to be and will be a physical space,
Yes.
but right now it's kind of loading and setting up online. Tell us a bit more about it.
The Virtua that you see right now in Fractal Fantasy and on YouTube is basically the blueprint for the ultimate community space we'd like to build. And Virtua, in a way, is a blank canvas where everything inside is geared towards meaningful cultural interaction between people. Because that's in the end what's important, right? Like when you go out with your friends, you don't think back and you're like, oh my God, I had such a great time waiting 20 minutes in code check. But you think about the time you had with your friends and like dancing or experiencing visuals. And that's what's important, I think. So everything in that space will be geared towards that, towards meaningful interactions. It will be not only a club, it will be production studio. We can host visual artists. We'll be able to host, I don't know, all types of things like movie nights or something. You don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, especially not with the restrictions still in place, which are probably going to be there for a few years. So we'll see.
If you don't mind, I'd love to go back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to growing up. Would you be able to share with us any kind of early memories of video games that really resonated with you? Um, I just want to get a bit more of a picture of the kind of movies, the games, and the sounds that you believed shaped your kind of take on the world and may have ended up influencing your
Yeah.
practice.
I remember playing Mortal Kombat with my neighbors all the time. And I also played a lot of racing games, but I got really way too deep into that stuff. So I had to stop at one point because I got really addicted to it and it was too much. Um, that's so much I remember from gaming. That came back later in life anyway with Fractal Fantasy and stuff. But I think um, what shaped my creative practice, I think a lot of that has to do with my family and like the way my family raised me and how much importance was put on culture and experiencing art. uh, my mom made sure that we constantly went to museums, to galleries, that I was constantly drawing, building something. I don't know, any present was geared towards making things and being creative. So creativity was really, really highly emphasized in my family and still is. I think my mom is probably the biggest supporter of her local art community, like more than anyone. So I think that's what shaped my current life. I think my current way of creating and my outlook towards art and stuff.
Let's move on to hearing a bit more about music specifically. So since 2015, when I kind of first heard your first EP, um, how would you say your approach to the creation of music, writing, production, has evolved?
I don't know. It's a bit hard to say from the inside how things changed. I think you can kind of hear my progress over the years and how my approach changed to making music. But since I'm here firsthand, it's kind of hard to describe it. Um, Something that I still carry on though is trying to always, push myself and experimenting with things and trying to make things that I haven't heard before and pushing myself into uncomfortable territories. I think that's a thread that's always been there, like trying to grow creatively, learning new things and applying new things to my music instead of just hyping on the same thing all the time. Yeah, because I think it's super important to grow creatively and to keep growing with your music because you grow as a human. So it should be parallel to your creative growth, I think.
Absolutely. And were there any methods or like producer setup and arrangement things that you have kept consistent, or are there things that you look back on and just like cringe about that you used to do when you first started producing?
No, actually, it's quite the same still. I don't have a big setup really. I have my laptop, I have my laptop keyboard, and I have a microphone and myself and my headphones. That's all I really need. I sometimes work on speakers, but more for mix sounds and stuff. I quite enjoy working in headphones because they're quite close. You can hear a lot of details that you maybe can't hear in speakers depending on what your room setup is also. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of miss sometimes not knowing what I'm doing in production. Like in the beginning when you start out and you don't know how things work or whatever, you make a bunch of accidents that turn out really amazing. Now that I know more, I'm kind of like very precise about this is what I want to do. I'm going to make it, which is great too. I don't know, both has its advantages and disadvantages, but I really like that experimental phase in the beginning.
Speaking about that sort of beginning stage, what would you say are your kind of top tips for finding a musical identity? And did you have any strategies? Like some people will dive in and be like, okay, I'm going to work on a loop a day or something like that. Did you do anything like that to
Yeah,
help?
absolutely. That was what my whole first EP was about. I don't know if you know the story, but Sinjin set me out to make 100 songs before releasing my first EP, which ended up being 100 ladies. And I think I'm just gonna pass on that advice because that's probably the best thing you can do as a musician, like make 100 songs or demos before you release your first important body of work, because then you'll really have found yourself. You'll have found your voice and what you want to do, what you sound like, yourself in the music. I think that applies to anything really. Put in 10,000 hours and you'll be great at whatever it was. If it's like writing emails or doing taxes, or I don't know, like whatever you fancy to do. If you spend a lot of time on it, you'll get great in it and you'll find your voice in it, I think.
All right, let's get to know Fractal Fantasy a little better. So you have mentioned it already, but for our listeners, I was wondering, how would you describe Fractal Fantasy?
Fractal Fantasy is a platform that Sinjin and I made that allows us to do whatever we want to do, exactly how we want to do it. I really like it because it's pretty open format and it's there for us and not us for them. So for it, sorry. So whatever we want to create, we can make it through Fractal Fantasy. Like if that is visual installations in spaces or albums or code experiments or performances, it can be all types of things. So yeah, it's our little creative platform that we built and that we're nourishing and making grow over the years.
And Sinjin is Sinjin Hawke. Yes. Just for our listeners, how did you guys come to work together, and what would you say are your kind of individual strengths or your individual areas of focus that you each bring?
Spending time with Sinjin is incredible because he's such an amazing creative and still my favorite artist and the most amazing producer I've ever seen. So I learn something every day just by watching him work or through conversation. And I think one of his big strengths are that he sees an artist or a project and he knows exactly what's great about this person or about this this project and how to bring that to the forefront and make it shine. You know, he's really just amazing at that. Besides also having a wonderful ear for composition and for music. So I don't know, it's great having him be part of the project. And I don't know, my strengths I think are organization. I'm super organized. I have a lot of drive too. I have the calendar on hand, so if I want to make a project, I'll like make sure that it happens. So in that sense, we're pretty very good team.
Yeah, I think that's the super important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a horrible question because they're all your creations and your projects that you've overseen, but has there been a particular project affiliated to your work with Sinjin, specifically relating to Fractal Fantasy, that, you know, something that's like really extra special to you that you're kind of the most proud of?
With Sinjin specifically, I think our live set, our tour that we've been doing for the last years, and what we've been working on there, just because it's super fun touring with him and experiencing that with him on stage and being with our fans IRL, which is an amazing experience. So that was really, really great, and I'm really proud of that and how it turned out.
Would you tell us about a live show that went really well? I feel like everyone needs those memories to relive of like an amazing live set.
Yeah, so we built a visual rig which basically portrays us as these like crazy metallic superhuman beings behind us on screen in real time. And it's a very complex setup, and it takes a long time to set it up every time. So it's a lot of effort touring it around the world, but I don't know, there's something special about it that people connect a lot, like bringing the music live to people and also having live visuals, like a really big representation of ourselves that's kind of like really strange and like at the same time really liquidy metal and stuff. So I think people really enjoyed that and really enjoyed seeing it, and so did I. There was some really special moments throughout our tour that I'm never going to forget.
Let's talk about your recent album, 10 Billion Angels. This is your debut album.
Mm-hmm.
How long would you say tracks from this project have been in the making?
Oh my God, a long time, partly 3 or 4 years or longer, I think. But partly they were written last year, so I don't know. It kind of came together over the last 3 or 4 years in the end of the day.
Would you tell us the story of how you went about naming the record?
That was a hard one, because naming songs is easier than naming an album, because you really want to encompass the whole thing, right? You want to explain or really find like a good image to how it sounds like. And that was kind of what 10 Billion Angels was for me. It was a good image that I wanted people to see when they listen to the record or when they look at the visuals also, which also have something to do with the name anyway. It's these angels floating around in the world in different places. And yeah, the name is fun because we were walking with some friends in Beijing and I saw this spa that was called 10 Billion Angels. And I was like, wow, what goes down in the 10 Billion Angel spa behind those curtains? I want to know. And it was this really interesting and mysterious place that I wanted to enter. So in a way, it really stuck with me and it really fit the album as well.
I'd love to hear more about the visual side of it. Should we start with the kind of cover artwork where we see you immortalized, rendered in 3D with tentacles? Would you explain a bit more about that?
What I really like about CGI is that you can create or that you can bypass reality because you're not bound to the same constrictions, and so you can create really fantastical things. And the tentacle porn came about me just being really fascinated with the rose video games. so erotic video games, and tentacle porn is a huge part of it. And that specifically interested me because of the community around it, and because of how obsessive the creators were, because they have this fantasy of tentacle pornography, this like fetish that they have, and it can't exist in real life really. So they have such a big urge to see it that they need to make it, and it's incredibly difficult to make it too. I know because I've done it. But it's super involved, super hard to do, and I really admired this motivation of them to wanting to see their fantasies. And I think that's a super pure creative motivation in a way, you know, that you're so obsessed with something that you need to make it or hear it anyway in music. So I really related with that, and that's kind of how that connection came about.
And with the music itself, you mentioned your production setup as being your computer, mostly headphones, sometimes speakers. Are you still focused on keeping that production setup quite mobile and flexible?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't need anything. I like that it's so minimal because I can just whip my laptop out anywhere, you know, and make music. It's great. I don't need much. So I really love that. I try to experiment in the box, really, you know, experiment with new synths, or pushing myself to learn new techniques, or for example, using my vocal is something I've started doing, you know, pushing myself into uncomfortable territories within the setup that I have in order to grow creatively.
I'd love to hear more about you kind of pushing yourself and growing into your voice and using your own vocals. Um, First of all, why did you want to go that route and learn more about your own voice?
I've always used choirs or vocals a lot in my music through I don't know, since the beginning, I think. And I just started to grow a bit tired of sampling other people's acapellas. And I had very specific ideas that I wanted to do. So in the end of the day, it was using my vocal that allowed me to do that. And so I took vocal coaching, and I really learned how to use it, and I'm still learning. It's a long learning process using your own vocals. So it opened up a lot of possibilities though that I didn't have before, you know, being very precise with certain wording or certain melodies with certain sounds. So that's why I did that. I also think that creatives should also push themselves into uncomfortable places in order to grow. You know, if you're always comfortable, you never grow. So that's super, super important for creative people, I think. So.
And so was the idea of using your own voice, did that previously feel quite uncomfortable and something that you shied away from?
Yeah, because I'm not a trained singer, you know. It's, if you hear people like Rosalia or whatever, they've been singing for all their life. They've been doing it for a long time, you know, and it takes a lot of practice and a lot of knowledge and a lot of training to be able to do it well. So in the beginning, I was uncomfortable, especially if you, I'm sure you had this before when you first record yourself making a podcast or something, then you hear your own voice and you're like, oh my God, that's how I sound like, you know?
And what goes down in a vocal coach lesson?
I have this girl called Zaya from Montreal. She's incredible. She has such an amazing vocal, also super dope girl, very spiritual, very in touch with herself. So it's kind of like a vocal lesson, but also like a life lesson at the same time. She's really, really cool. But she just kind of, I've only ever worked with one vocal coach, so I can't say much about other people, but with her, it works like I go there, we kind of, you know, sing together, and then she helps me refine things that need refining, you know, train things, gives me advice, gives me exercises to do that I do every day.
How are you finding Montreal? How long have you been there?
I love Montreal. It's such a cool city. I've been here now since this September 20. Oh my God, 2019. Wow, time flies. That last year passed so fast. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been here a lot of times before because Sinjin is from here and we have a lot of friends here. And yeah, it's a great place. I don't know if you've been, but there's usually a very vibrant music scene. A lot of artists live here because it's still fairly cheap for a big city. So I really love it. And I'm really looking forward to everything opening up again. So
Yeah, hopefully soon. Sorry, getting back on track to your
sure.
album. It's been out for a little while now. How does it feel to have it out there?
Great. I'm happy it's out. It was a long process to get it out and it was very, very hard work. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy because it made a lot of people happy. I think I received a lot of really cute messages from people. Like somebody had a really hard time and it kind of helped them, pull through that hard time. He's better now, I think, I hope. But that's in the end of the day what you release music for, I think, because I make the music for myself, but I release it for people to listen to and to enjoy. So it's really beautiful when I see that it makes people happy. That's kind of what I do it for.
So special to receive a kind of message back once you put the album
Yeah.
out there, just to hear about someone's personal interaction with it. That's really nice.
Yeah, I hope we can perform again soon too, because that's a big part of it too, like performing the music afterwards, because you're actually with people in a room. If you're just presenting it over the internet, it's a bit different than when you're actually IRL with people.
I'm sure it will happen soon. But again, it is a kind of like another stage in the process of releasing a record. You're done with working on it, and that's the kind of expressive, creative part, and then you put it out there to share with others, and it's more kind of navigating the music industry side rather than being able to retreat into creativity. And perhaps the industry isn't always like the most comfortable place to be.
No, definitely not. The music industry is quite wild. But yeah, we gotta manage it, I guess. It's fine though. It has a lot of positive sides, it has a lot of negatives, but I think so does any industry really. So
Is that one of the ways that you kind of stay focused and cope with the admin and the industry side, just to think about continuing to make music?
yeah, continuing to release it also. I think that's super important in the end of the day, because if you just make music for yourself, it's fun, but it's just if you can share it with other people, it becomes this whole different universe that you enter, and it also becomes something very valuable to other people, and it helps them, I don't know, it's like seeing how important culture, art is, or music is for my mother, for example, shows me how important it is that I release my music, because it's so important to her, and she really suffers right now because she can't see. She loves going to galleries, loves going to concerts. She does it all the time, like multiple times a week. So now I see how much she misses that, and how much happiness and pleasure that it gives, that brings to her life. So I really want to continue doing that, and hopefully make some people happy with my creations and music and visuals and whatever.
If you could speak to a listener just before they take in your album, what would you want to share with them?
Get off Instagram before you listen to it. I don't know, but jokes aside, I think I wouldn't want to tell anyone what to do before they listen to my music, because it's a pretty personal thing. Like everyone should just take it in however they want to take it in, and enjoy it however they want to enjoy it.
Looking ahead to the future, do you have any aspirations for a new project on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm working hard on new music. It's coming together really well, and I have a lot of it, and I'm working on new visuals as well. So there's going to be a project coming soon. Don't want to quite announce what it is yet. I've also worked on some fashion projects with a friend of mine, which are also going to come out soon-ish, given that COVID lets us. But yeah, that has been fun. That has also happened over the internet, which is interesting, because my collaborator is in Barcelona and I'm here. So interesting working on fashion over the computer. What else? Sinjin has been making music, and it sounds super dope, obviously. It's so good. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be his new album, I think. So that has been going down. Yeah, a couple of small things in the work, but I think that's the biggest projects that we've been working on recently.
Well, you've given us a lot to look forward to there.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us into your world today. It's been so cool to hear about the
Oh,
processes
thanks.
behind your creations and just understand a bit more about you. So, Zora Jones, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. That was really fun.